Welcome back to our director's dive. We're still doing it. We're still chugging along.
We're
The
in there,
Stanley Kubrick train.
the
We're
deep
getting
end.
close to the end. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. Do you guys? Are you
Yeah,
happy to see the light, or are you excited, or is
it
it more
feels
of like,
good
yeah,
to close out, I think.
it's satisfying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
ready to get off,
Yeah.
see some new people, but I'm gonna really enjoy my time on the train with Kubrick. That's how I feel. So,
All right, that's good. That's good.
Yes.
Well, today we're
Thanks.
talking about his 1980 movie, probably one of his most iconic.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would say,
Most popular,
besides
maybe.
2001, but even then I think this kind of just surpassed it because it was just such a huge um
phenomenon at the time.
yeah, in the pop culture at the time. So I
Yeah.
just kicking off the 80s with The Shining, another adaptation of a novel by Stephen King. Yeah, so I've watched this before and I was had the freshly had the book on my mind when I did watch it. So I compared the two. So this watch through I decided to go and separate myself because it's been a few years since I read The Shining. So, I separated myself and just watched it as a Kubrick film. It did bring my enjoyment up a little bit, but at the same time, it's
It was
still
hard to
not.
ignore, right?
It's hard to ignore just because I know how rich the characters are in the book,
All right.
and they
Yeah.
just feel like they're lacking so much in this
Yeah.
because in the book there's so much inner dialogue that the characters are dealing with, and
I
in the
can see
movie
that.
it's kind of displayed, but the way it's displayed is a little bit more cold than the books. I don't know.
Stanley
Um,
Yeah.
Kubrick, cold. What?
yeah, right.
What? Get out of here. Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's like my second rewatch of it, and I get why it's iconic, but it was just, yeah, it's a little slow for me. I still enjoyed it, but I couldn't like give it. It's just not. I don't think it's my favorite of
Yeah,
Kubrick's. I don't
I
know.
think I think it's his most beautiful movie. I
The
mean,
cinematography is like
yeah,
awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.
I will
yeah.
say, so good.
That's what really amplified it for me this watch through is I was really focusing on like the technical aspects of it because
Mm.
when all else fails with Kubrick, I just decided to just watch the technical sides of things because I mean he's a genius.
Yeah,
So,
Hmm. For
yeah.
sure.
Some of
but
those tracking shots and shit,
yeah,
like all the iconic
the color
carpet,
schemes, all that
right?
shit. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, this is my second time watching. The first time I watched, it was like 15 years ago, where I was just not
Mhm.
really caring or trying. And I didn't really enjoy it that time, but I think this time kind of it worked its way over on me a little more. I think I was thinking about my rankings this week on Kubrick, and I think I'm gonna have a hard time because a lot of these are very good, and I
Mhm.
don't know how I would choose one over the other. Because honestly, I think this is one of my favorites of his now. But
Right on.
I don't think it's like a perfect movie, but I think Kubrick can be argued that a lot of his movies aren't perfect if you really like nitpick them. But
Right.
sometimes you just got to go for the ride with him, I'd say. And this one, I was along for the ride more so than most of his other ones. It was a lot easier to watch than his other movies for me. And I think maybe that had to do with like the suspense elements, the horror elements, obviously, but it was achieved very well. And I actually asked my girlfriend who was watching it with me if the pace was like slow, and because I was curious, because to me I was like I could see it being slow, but it wasn't. But to her it was dragging, and I was like, hmm. I totally understand how, because like the scenes
Yeah.
are taking a long time, and the characters haven't achieved like they haven't gone a lot yet in like the first 45 minutes or first hour, but I was there for the build the whole time,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed it a
Yeah.
lot.
I think it
Honestly,
accomplishes that. Sorry, didn't mean to- but it's
oh
like
no, go ahead.
this pace is like for a movie like this, it's like what builds tension, right? Like with
Hmm.
a psycho horror like this, like so I think it's like for a purpose. Yeah, I can't knock it there.
Very intentional and very slow
Mhm.
to draw you in,
Right.
Right,
like, and
right,
if you let it happen, it definitely will, in my
for
opinion,
sure.
for this one.
Yeah, and I think by focusing on like the technical, like the fucking set pieces, the hotel
Mm.
itself, the carpets, all the tracking shots, it didn't feel like it was slow paced for me. This go about, it felt more like I was like just kind of. So this is probably one of my favorites of his that I've seen out of
Nice.
all of these, just because I just felt more.
Just entertainment value.
Yeah, I was in the movie and just enjoying the
Hmm.
the atmosphere.
Yeah,
I like I said, I had to take the book out of my mind because there
right.
are some very weak links. in comparison. I mean, Stephen King has outright said on multiple occasions that, yeah, no, this is not a good
Doesn't like it.
adaptation.
Hmm.
Mhm.
But his the reasons are pretty much the same as when I was watching it this time. It was this bit basically like they're two very separate ideas and interpretations of what he had in mind, especially for
Right.
Jack. Because in the
Right.
book, Jack is like, in the movie, it seems he starts off as a crazy guy and he like slowly gets worse and worse as the movie goes. But in
Yeah,
the movie, or in the book, I may have just said that backwards, but in the book, he's gradually going into that. And he
like
was like an
dissenting.
alcoholic and then abusive, but then he's kind of like recovering and he cares for Danny. And he like, has a
Mhm.
good relationship with Danny and wants to keep that relationship. In the movie, it seems kind of cold, but
Yeah, I kind of looked into
Yeah,
like the big differences, and I can understand fully why people think one way or the other.
yeah,
Because like for like horror of it all, I think like Stephen King's elements probably are the most scary, like being just like completely manipulated by like demons or whatever the fuck that you
right.
yeah,
you're a good man and now you're not. Like
Yeah,
that's fucking scary. But like I think Kubrick's interpretation is more socially relevant, as like basically it's just like a metaphor for an abusive relationship at the end of it, I'd say.
mhm,
yeah,
And
mhm,
Jack starts as this man, and it's like this inevitable push, it feels like, in this movie, that this
right.
was always going to happen, and this is like the straw that broke his like abusive rampage, like.
Right.
yeah,
So I totally understand it, but I think this movie makes the story more rich the way that Kubrick took it. It makes it more impactful to me. Whereas if it was King's version, I think I would be like, that was creepy. But overall, I don't know if I'd care as much, maybe, but that's just maybe my interpretation. So,
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's big, like, obvious differences too that I like. For me, the movie isn't really chilling. Like, when I was reading the book, there was parts in the book that I was like super
that's
like,
fucked
wow,
up.
that
Yeah,
was actually kind of spooky.
mm,
yeah,
And not like spooky like supernatural, but just the things that happen in it where like in the book there's no maze. It's hedge animals. Like they're
creatures.
trimmed out as hedge
okay.
and they like slowly approach the house and I don't know. It's that fucked
Hmm.
me up when I was a kid reading it.
Mm,
So when by the end of the book, the hotel is pretty much just taken over Jack. So like he is basically just a puppet for the hotel, and when he's going after his wife and son, he's got a mallet, a croquet mallet instead of an
mm,
axe, and like
Mhm.
Danny's like, "No, you're my dad. You look like him," and he like bashes his face with the mallet. So he's like, "Now I don't fucker or whatever." So it's just that was fucked up, and I was
Damn, yeah,
kind of expecting that kind of the hotel playing a bigger role, but
mm.
it's
that'd
more
be
of
cool to
just a
see.
a space for this, like you said, an abusive relationship.
I'd imagine that like in the book, I mean, the book's always better than the movie, right? Like most,
Most of the
I
time,
think
yeah.
most people would say, yeah. But I'd imagine like with a psychological horror like this, you're probably like getting a lot of Jack Nicholson's character, like his inner monologue and like why he's going crazy, or like I don't know, maybe with I don't know if it focuses on like all the characters that way, but
Yeah, I mean, in the book, you're not at the hotel really until like a third of the way through.
hmm,
But even then, the character that sticks out to me is Danny. He's like he's got such a deeper personality and more
Hmm.
pivotal points or important points
yeah,
in the book that drives the story.
hmm,
And I mean, so does Jack, but he's more so the focus in the movie. I mean, they both kind of play off each other, but in the book, but it's just like Danny is such a better character in the book. Him and Tony, because Tony is in the movie is kind of portrayed as like this malevolent entity, right? When you get to the thing, you only see him doing bad things or red rum.
yeah,
But in the
yeah, that's
book,
true.
he's kind of just like warning Danny and helping
Mm.
Danny. So,
Okay,
but
interesting.
those are
Yeah,
the
I wondered.
comparisons where it just the characters felt weaker in the
Yeah,
movie.
I think Jack Nicholson blew it out of the water with his performance. I mean, the dude,
That dude deserved an
dude,
Oscar for this role,
yeah,
honestly.
It was very
Like,
good.
yeah, he was awesome. Just like full committed nutcase, man.
mhm.
Uh, how'd you guys feel about was it yeah, Shelley Duvall, Wendy?
Eh,
I don't know. I found her a little unbelievable like sometimes, but Maybe that's just a product of the
After your
time.
husband
Yeah.
threatens to bash your skull in, do you really go take a sleep?
I
You know?
gotta sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I get what you mean. She kind of toes the line of being like, whoa, okay, calm down.
Yeah.
Like this
Dial it,
is.
dial it back a little bit. Yeah, yeah.
But overall, I think she's pretty good. I mean, I know what she went through behind the scenes in this movie was not
Yeah.
a great time.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think her performance encapsulates a lot of the like horror that a female would face, especially for her character, where it's probably different in the book. But this woman is not very capable. Like, and that's
Yeah.
the idea, like
Yeah.
is like a not very capable person with a more capable son who's
Mhm.
like facing this father figure who's about to fucking go for them. Like
Yeah.
so. I think the character's pretty solid, even though it's a change. But I think Shelley did a overall very good job of just dialing up that horror and keeping it there for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
She
sure.
does.
Yeah, this movie does kind of feel like multiple movies in one for me. I question if I give this movie a little bit of grace because I know like Stephen King and I know what that dude's about. Because like if I didn't know what The Shine was before this movie or shit like that, I'd be like, dude, what the fuck is going on right now? Like, why is the kid
Yeah.
like why is the kid seeing all this shit? Why is like is the hotel just haunted? Is it like? But because of
Mm.
Stephen King, I'm like, okay, that's because he's wanting to do some weird ass supernatural shit with this, But the elements of this film don't feel like holes almost. They're kind of like not explored fully.
That's what I felt too in this watch through specifically was it did feel a little disconnected at parts. Like I said, when she just kind of goes to sleep after locking her husband up, it just felt like there was something missing in between there that I don't know.
Yeah.
'Cause she was so worked up that he was coming after her and he said, "I'm gonna bash your fucking face in," And it's just like, how do you
Yeah.
rest after that? And then you don't really get much of Tony, Red Rum.
Hmm.
And I feel like he's just such a big part because it's kind of part of The Shining, and the title of the movie is The Shining. Yeah, so I can see where you're coming from. It is a little disconnected at times, which can be jarring, but at the same time, it's just so wonderful to look at that I kind of just wrote it off as like, all right, Kubrick, you did good on this one, buddy.
Nice.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's cool. I'm glad you like did enjoy it knowing like having that book because I
Yeah.
feel like I would have probably been the same. I would have been like, oh, fucking- they should have done
Yeah.
this. Kubrick should, that kind of
I
stuff.
mean, they didn't even get the room number right, so
Clearly, you
And-
didn't read the book.
Man,
What
bro.
the
yeah,
fuck?
right.
Yeah.
The hotel was like, we don't want people to watch this and not want to stay in that room, so we'll pick a room that we don't have. But that's the most requested room to stay in now. So
237.
yeah, and it doesn't
Yeah.
exist. So
Nice. Yeah, it was kind of crazy to me that Kubrick is like reconciling like abusive, angry people, like that type of like idea in this movie. And then you read the behind the scenes of like what he was doing, and he was like abusive and angry the whole time in this movie.
oh yeah,
It was kind of
Yeah.
like a weird juxtaposition where he's like reconciling it, but then not changing. So like
Yeah.
that's a little strange to me, but
Yeah.
But yeah. Overall, better. I enjoyed it more this go around. I mean, I didn't. I only bumped it up like half star, just because it's still. It felt weak when it was weak. It was kind of just overly weak, and
Mm.
the characters weren't what I wanted them to be, I guess. But yeah, I'll give it about 3,
Nice.
which
I
is
bumped
up there
mine
with the
down.
highest of my Kubrick ratings. So
Nice. Yeah, I bumped mine down half a star, so it was at 4, and it's at 3.5.
I had mine at 3.5, and I bumped it up to like 4.5, I think.
nice.
Because honestly, I think this is one of the better horror movies that I like horror. It's like character focused. It's like intentional.
Hmm.
It does have supernatural elements, but they're not like the bane of the character's existence. They're kind of just like this side element that enriches the story.
Yeah, kind of forces them into.
Yeah, but the once like the horror kicks in with Jack Nicholson, like when he's walking up the stairs, dude, that's one of the most terrifying sequences I've ever seen, and it's all just about two characters. One of them's completely unhinged, like.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of that played pretty well for me as overall, just like that's horror. Like you just need a fucking crazy dude, like
Right.
it doesn't have to be like The Nun.
Oh yeah. That
Yeah.
bullshit's bullshit.
Uh,
And I would say like another like good horror element that was a scene was in the bathroom when he's talking to Jeeves. I don't remember his name,
The
but when he's
butler or
talking to
whatever,
him,
the
yeah,
bar
Yeah.
guy.
and he was just basically like, I took care of my family. I corrected them. Now
Mhm.
you got to do it. And you're just like, holy shit. And that's where it kind of just, I was like, oh wow, this is like
There's something
good
here.
stuff. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
then yeah,
Cool.
I just wish it got there earlier with
Sooner,
the
sooner.
characters and kind of gave it more of a purpose and more motivation for Jack and all that. So I don't know.
Yeah, fair.
But also, crazy good scene was when he was chopping the door down and the camera was whipping with the axe. Love that.
There was a
Right.
lot of. I mean, I wrote down some of my favorite shots in this. I mean, first off, the top-down maze shot,
Yeah.
hypnotic as fuck, and it
Yeah.
needed to be at that time. It was like perfect.
Yeah, that's cool.
We already said it before, but the riding shots with the kid, like this is like the
Mm.
first use of like Steadicam, or one of the first
Yeah.
uses,
Okay.
Yeah.
and it's just so smooth, and it's just like the
Yeah.
hero shot of like this young boy like cruising in his fucking
Through
ride,
the
and
halls.
he's
Yeah.
about to like become the hero of this like location he's like cruising around in, and that was
Yeah.
just cool. I mean, it's just kind of like there, but it's so like engaging as just a shot. They're just like fucking yeah.
Yeah.
And then I mean the blood gushing out of the elevator, obviously insane.
Classic.
It took
Yeah.
1 year to get that shot.
That's great. I mean, I'm surprised he had more than a couple chances. Like I think he had
Yeah.
like 4 or 5. He said, but the chair push at the end, like just the way that's just damn. Like that's a great shot.
One of the most beautiful shots was when Danny was playing with his toys on the carpet and the ball rolls to him, and I was just like, I like that.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
symmetrical. Most of the stuff was symmetrical. Like when you go to Hollerand in his room and you just have his feet, and you have the 2 lamps, the TV picture.
Yeah, I really liked Scatman Carruthers in this too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, his like the reveal of the posters on his wall did so much for me as like making this character just have so many layers, or you want to like spend more time and just understand who this guy is,
Yeah.
So,
No. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Facts.
That was another thing. He didn't die in the book, so
Oh.
and he plays a role in Doctor Sleep. So
Yeah, I do want to see Doctor Sleep now.
Mm.
And another big gripe I have for this movie is that you take so much time with Scatman Carruthers. You watch his entire journey to the hotel, and then
Yeah.
like he's like dispatched in like the 30 seconds that he walks into the building. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I mean, I get I get the suspense of it all, but like, why? Why did you show all of this? Like,
he
and
plays
spend so
such a
much?
big role in Danny's life too. Later
Uh,
on, at least in the
Okay.
books and stuff. So I don't know. I just don't know why Kubrick was like, yeah, just fucking kill him.
Get rid of him.
I get for the movie, sure.
And final note, I really like the idea. I know it's a deviation from the book, but the idea of like ending frozen in the middle of a maze as like the metaphor for insanity is just like, it's like
Yeah.
good job,
Spot
Kubrick.
on.
You got to the end that
Yeah.
you needed to for me. So I guess final question to wrap it up is: do you think like the ending with the picture on the wall, like, is that like a betrayal of like the whole movie, or does that like make it better for you that this is basically, it's kind of like the idea of the book, it seems like, where he's reincarnated almost to be the spirit every time to come back to the hotel or something? Like, maybe I'm wrong, but
That was kind of my thought behind it when I saw it. I was like, oh, so
Yeah.
he's just haunting this place now. Like he's just going to be a part of the hotel now. But
I think, yeah.
he's always
I would
been.
say that's probably. I mean, it's just like Jeeves, right?
But he's a person that came to this hotel with a family, right? Like,
Well, so is Jeeves. He was the old caretaker.
so who is Shelley and his kids? They're ghosts too, or they're just
single mother. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I
caretaker?
don't know.
It seems to me like they said that there was somebody in the 70s that did some crazy shit, but that was what's his nuts, the other Grady, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder if this ending like betrays kind of everything that was set up, or if it's like perfectly in line with what Kubrick's vision was, of like, yeah, this is gonna mind fuck him at the end,
Yeah.
like, but I still am trying to wrap my head around what it means, so I don't
Yeah.
know if it's like successful or not, but
Maybe it is, right? If it's keeping you thinking about it.
Still
I don't
got
know.
me.
Yeah, right.
Next one up, another war one, right? Another kind of
Yeah. Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
We got 2 more, right?
2
Full Metal
more.
Jacket.
Yeah. And then do some rankings.
Yep.
Join us next week, guys, for some. I almost said Full Metal Alchemist, but Full Metal Jacket.
Yep. The Kubrick train keeps chugging.
All the
Yes,
way to
sir.
the end. We'll see you then.
Us in there first, and then you lead. If that's true, Jack will come in from this end and stop over here.
Yeah.
Is that what okay.
And yeah, he'd run past in that
Okay,
direction.
lead
and
us
Danny
in
would be
first.
in.
Come
you
in,
want, you
Garrett.
want Danny in first.
Yeah. Now we take the 25 in your pocket or something, because I don't know what lens we're gonna want. All right? The 18 on the camera, the 25 in your pocket.
And we'll bring Jen straight in, Stanley.
And the 14.5 in somebody else's pocket. Huh?
Stanley, what you do? Bring Jen straight in?
Les has to bring them in.
The way we went when he was...
Yeah.
We've got to do his hand and all that. We've got to do, Stanley.
Do it right now. Come on. Get him in. Let anybody do it, Brian. Just get him in and let him realize we're out of time.
Harry, can you check the smoke in the centre, please?
Are we going the right way, Les?
Yeah.
Coming around, sir.
We're on our way in.
Don't let him run. He's liable to run into me. Okay? Here we go. Roll video. All right, turn over, please. Roll video.
Speed, Stanley.
And don't look at your hands, Danny. Don't look at your hands when you come around. Keep it low. Come on. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Keep coming. More scared, Danny. Now, go. Don't be a shoulder. Run now, run. Look back, Danny. Look back.